Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and this isn't a shooting video, so I'm going to try to get this kind of out of the standard rotation. This is a video about Patreon. So first let me say, if you enjoy the channel, and I hope you do, I hope that you're a subscriber. And if you're not, please subscribe. We would love to have you. But if you are a subscriber, well, you can support the channel on Patreon. And I'll appreciate that because, to be honest with you, since YouTube changed the rules, the amount of ad revenue I get from the station, from the channel, is way down. I get about 30% of the revenue that I used to get a few years ago from the channel, even though the channel itself has about a 20% bigger reach than it did then, right? But because of demonetization and their wacky ad rules now, that they consider all this gun stuff so hateful that they only allow hateful people to advertise on it, right? So we don't get the movie trailer ads and all that stuff that we used to get that really provided the decent money. So now we just don't get that. I get a pittance off of this. So Patreon really does help to bridge that gap. And I know you might say, well, why don't you just make the videos because you love doing it, right? A lot of people do on YouTube. They don't expect to make any money. So why should we support your lavish lifestyle with our hard-earned cash? And believe me, I get that. I mean, it's your money. I don't want to take it from you. The reason I even do Patreon is because if I didn't do that, I really couldn't bring you this stuff. And I'm going to give you a really good example. And you might say, why don't you do it for love? Well, okay, I do love doing it. And I would probably still do it even if I didn't make a dime off of it. But necessarily, I would have to do a lot less of it. That'd be a problem. And the reason for that is really simple. I'm retired. Now I'm on a fixed income. It's a comfortable income. I'm not complaining about that. But certainly my gun budget is much constrained over the glory days of my earning period and when I was a gun writer and getting guns to review all the time. And now I don't really hit gun companies up for T&E guns very, very rarely. Because it's not going to go in a magazine, and a lot of them don't think this YouTube stuff is like a real thing. But also, I kind of like the independence. You don't see me being sponsored by Pieta, let's say, right, or by GoX Powder or Swiss Powder, which some other black powder guys are, which is fine, but it kind of constrains them and maybe what they're going to say in an honest review, right? I like to be unconstrained about that. But I'll give you a concrete example of what Patreon does for you. A little while ago, I did a video on Uberti's 44 caliber new model Army Remington revolver, right? They call them the 1858 Remington. And I did that because I got quite a few requests from you all out there to do an Uberti Remington. Now, I already owned 4 Pieta Remingtons, but I didn't own an Uberti Remington. But your Patreon contributions made it possible for me to go out and buy one. Now, I did that because you all wanted it. I would not have bought an Uberti Remington just from my own devices because I've got enough Remingtons. But I also wouldn't have had an Uberti Remington video because it just wasn't going to happen. You just recently saw, or will see, this little 1862 police revolver in a video. Well, I wouldn't have bought that either because I did one about 6 years ago and I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to buy it. Right? But I've gotten a lot of requests for it, particularly having done the 31 caliber pocket models. A lot of people wanted to see the 36 caliber police model. Well, your contributions made it possible for me to buy that police model revolver and do a video on it. Now, if I didn't have any income from this, I wouldn't have bought it because it just would have been out of the budget. I would have done videos with what I had or what I could save up to get. So you just wouldn't see the variety, you wouldn't see as many. I do black powder build videos. And there are people who like the cap and ball stuff. There are people who like the build videos. There are people who like the flintlock videos. Sometimes you're all the same people. But for the most part, those are different groups of people who like different things on the channel. So the people who like builds are fairly unique, right? A lot of the people who are cap and ball revolver people don't really care for the flintlock builds. I understand that. The people who do like the build videos like them very, very much. And I get a lot of feedback on them, and I talk to a lot of people at events. Those are very expensive to do in terms of tools and components, and Patreon makes it possible for me to do that. So you get to see more of that because of Patreon. Right? Patreon lets me go to more of these events that I cover. Like last year I did School of the Long Hunter and the raid at Martin Station. Now for people who like the history stuff, those are extremely popular. And I'm happy to do them, but going to the raid at Martin Station, that's almost a 12-hour drive for me. It requires a couple of days on each side of the event and hotels on the way there, and it's expensive. I have a lot of fun, and I'm happy to do it, but I only can do it because of your support on Patreon. So I really appreciate that support. It allows me to have fun, but it also allows you to see a video of a historical reenactment that maybe you wouldn't be able to see without it. So, you know, if you can't afford to support the channel on Patreon, or you just don't care to, that's okay. I totally understand. And I hope you keep watching the videos and keep enjoying them regardless, right? They're there for everybody to see. But for those of you who can and do support the channel on Patreon, well, I really have to say thank you, because you make it possible. And without you, I just couldn't do everything that I'm doing here. In fact, I bought Duelist Den in the glory days when I was making a fair amount of money off of YouTube. And without the Patreon support, paying the taxes and the maintenance costs that I run there, Duelist Den would be kind of an anchor on my boat. But instead, I'm able to enjoy it, keep it going, and we got about 9 months out of the year of shooting all kinds of stuff there that I couldn't do here at the gun club. So that's another benefit that you get that Patreon pays for. So once again, thanks a lot if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, thanks for being a viewer, because you're very valuable to me as well. And I hope that you all enjoy what you're seeing. So I'll see you next time.